Hey everybody, Matt Heckman here. On the road today, doing my usual business and whatnot, but I figure I wanted to take a moment to do this audio broadcast quick because I want to address something that happened this morning at a Pat Toomey event. As some of you heard, as some of you have already shot me messages on, a Dynamic Core technician was supposedly ejected from a Pat Toomey event for asking a question that severely offended him. And Senator Toomey didn't answer the question. The question simply was, Senator, what good are you? And allow me to elaborate on that question. What good are you? What good is Congress? What good is the President of the United States when no matter what law or any kind of regulation, legislation, amendment, etc. is passed, it always weighs down to the fate of the United States Supreme Court. So if the United States Supreme Court is the final arbiter and the ultimate God of everything that the executive and legislative branch claims it to be, what good are you? Why do we need you? Wouldn't you basically call yourselves justified middlemen? Senator Toomey couldn't answer that question and actually threatened to have my technician arrested, believing that I put this technician up to this. This technician acted on his own. And I happen to agree with what my technician said. Folks, the reality is that is a question that no member of Congress or any elected official throughout this country has the gravitas to answer. And let's get to the minutia of it all. We simply need to read Article 3, Section 2 of the United States Constitution. That's the biggest problem. If you read that, you'll understand that the courts do not have this power. They were never given this power. It was taken illegally under Marbury v. Madison when the Federalists lost power in 1800. And it is a burden that has stuck to this country ever since. Now, this is a Republican and a Democrat issue. Let's look at it this way. Have you ever noticed, and I'm going to play this on both sides, Republicans, have you ever noticed that everything from abortion to lower taxes to lower regulations to limited government, all your efforts eventually get shut down at the end of the day through the United States Supreme Court? Or if they do not get shut down, they get watered down so severely that they're pretty much as useless as an antibiotic with a Kardashian. I mean, yeah. And Democrats, have you ever noticed farmland preservation, cracking down on big banks, making those corporate fat cat donors pay through the nose quicker than Lindsay Lohan can snort a line of cocaine? Have you ever noticed that all of your efforts eventually fizzle out at the United States Supreme Court? Or at the very least, they get watered down to where they are useless as an antibiotic with a Kardashian. It's true. I mean, it is absolutely true, and we need to start looking at the United States Supreme Court and their massive overreach of unconstitutional power as the problem. We could re-elect Pat Toomey. We could elect Karen McGinty and make paper bags great again. And no matter who we elect, we could elect Donald Trump, we could elect Hillary Clinton at this point. And here is the thing, it does not matter what any of them do. Because at the end of the day, any bill that is passed and signed always hangs in the balance with the United States Supreme Court now. It's true. It's been that way for hundreds of years. And it was never intended to be that way. It is a false narrative of propaganda that has been passed along from one generation to another. The United States Supreme Court, under Article 3, Section 2 of the United States Constitution, was never intended to put the United States Supreme Court as the final arbiters of anything. And what's even worse than that is being the delivery boys for past presidential administrations, where even in some cases those presidents have since passed away. And this is a bipartisan thing that we can all get around. Think about this. Democrats, does it irk your skin that Ronald Reagan, beyond the grave, can still have power, even though he has not been in office since 1989? Republicans, does it not tick you off that Bill Clinton can still have power from his Supreme Court nominations, even to this day? And think about it with Obama. We talk about Obama being the worst president in the history of the United States, but yet, you know what? 30 years after he's gone, his justices will still be there wreaking their tyranny. John Roberts, George W. Bush, gave us Obamacare after Bush was no longer in office. Now I ask you this, ladies and gentlemen, are we living in a constitutional republic, or are we ultimately living in a judicial monarch based on the consensus of 9 members of this judicial monarch family? That's something to think about, isn't it? Think about it this way, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine when Germany was free of Adolf Hitler. Imagine when Russia was free of Joseph Stalin, Nikita Khrushchev, Mikhail Gorbachev. Imagine one day if Cuba fights their true revelation and frees themselves of Castro. Would it be in the name of true liberty and justice to keep remnants of those tyrannical governments around, to be inflicted upon future generations? Absolutely not. That would be absurd. So why on earth do we continue to do this when we look at the United States Supreme Court? Trump is running. Hillary is running. Gary Johnson's running. Jill Stein is running. But at the end of the day, you know what all 4 of them have in common? We're going to appoint Supreme Court justices that are going to rule long after we are in the grave. That is not what a constitutional republic is constructed to be. And the fact that Senator Pat Toomey wants to arrest my technician for having the audacity to ask such a fundamental question that would have been mandatory in any civics course in the United States 50 years ago is absolutely absurd and deplorable. So with that said, let the debate begin. I look forward to the feedback.